But it somehow seems that hell has frozen over. Well, in this case, it's like it's more like has heated, no frozen. I always remember what is the latest climate emergency, but it turns out that Bill Gates is kind of backpedaling in the at least in the apocalyptic stuff, as in no, we are not going to actually die of this, but we have to prevent the suffering. But let's watch this. Bill Gates has shifted his climate change strategy, moving away from apocalyptic warnings toward a renewed push for a massive investment in vaccine development. As if, well, I don't know how that makes sense. I know that Bill Gates has done some other things that I'm going to mention, but you remember that he's been basically the face of climate emergency for a number of years. We could say that more than a decade now. He now says the focus should be on saving lives rather than preventing suffering, with a new vaccine initiatives aimed at people in some of the world's poorest and most vulnerable regions. Again, I know that I should look at all these problems in a systemic way, but I failed. Maybe this is too new. Maybe Bill Gates is seeing something that I'm not seeing. That is very possible. But let's watch this.
Climate is a super important problem. There's enough innovation here to avoid super bad outcomes. We won't achieve our best goal, the 1.5 or even the 2 degrees. And as we go about trying to minimize that, we have to frame it in terms of overall human welfare, not just everything should be solely for climate.
You know, one of the things that I said a while ago is that, not a while ago, I think it was 1 year ago, but I've been saying it for at least for 2 years, is that at some point, you know, with all the energy required for AI and all the money that is the business of AI nowadays, at some point these people are going to just drop all the climate and energy and let's build nuclear again. And you remember that happened at the start of this year. They said, oh, we are going to renew in so many countries. We're going to renew. We're going to go nuclear. We need now we love nuclear power. That is great news indeed. I've been advocating for nuclear power for more than a couple of years now. And yes, they realized that since there's money on the table with AI, they need the electricity, they need the energy, and nuclear power is the answer. And it seems that, well, you know, in terms of all this demand for energy is going to, well, have consequences unless there's some kind of more advanced solution. So they have to walk back the climate part and saying that it is indeed a systemic problem, because I have said myself, I am not a hypocrite, I've said this in this channel, that climate emergency, we could say that we have a climate emergency in the sense that we could want cleaner energy, okay, which is one of the goals that the climate, besides all the bureaucracy and all the corruption that is involved in every single thing, not only the climate stuff, but everything sparks bureaucracy and corruption. It would be great if we could live in big cities that had cleaner air. And the only way to have cleaner air in big cities is to have cleaner energy. So that I have always advocated for that. I think that is the right way to go. Maybe I'm not that doomerist in terms of climate. I think that is a lot of stuff that is happening that is not man-made, but we can control how much pollution, and you know that was so 80s, so 80s word. But again, I'm pretty sure that these people are, you know, backpedaling because of all that they can do with AI. And one of the things that they have said is that AI can also develop better vaccines. So everything is connected at the same time. I don't know how do you, what are your feelings about this, but I think that Bill Gates' body language in this frame summarizes it very well. I think that he doesn't know. He's gonna still be the villain in so many ways. for so many people after all that he has done. But at least we can say, I have a silver lining for you at the end of this video.
When the climate activists who have been very supportive of what you've done and you've been very supportive of what they've done read this, and if Greta Thunberg is reading this and saying to herself, my goodness, he seems like he is reversing himself, what would you tell her?
I'd say, wasn't the goal here to improve human lives? And shouldn't we, in our awareness of how little generosity there is to help, measure, should we get them a measles vaccine or should we do some climate related activity?
Why not both, Bill? Don't you have enough, a lot of money? Don't you have, the influence in so many countries to being able to tackle both? If there are two emergencies, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's enough resources worldwide to tackle both of them. Why backpedal on the climate emergency? Maybe it's just there's no actual climate emergency. So he says that, okay, it's okay if we don't achieve our goals of 1.5 or 2 degrees.
And if we stop funding all vaccines and that, saved you 0.1 degree, would that be a smart trade-off? That's the kind of question we have to ask. So I'm a climate activist, but I'm also a child survival activist.
Okay, I'm not going to mention that. Have any comments of that? But at least this is this is an actual thing. This is systemic thinking in systems. As in, if you push for a new worldwide vaccine, that is going to have an impact on the climate. And you have to, in this case, it's hard to measure it, to see the correlation between the two. But there's always a correlation, especially when you talk in macro terms, in worldwide terms. Everything that you go worldwide is going to have an impact in many systems at once. But the thing is that this systemic thinking has been on for decades. Like this is something that smart people think this way, have been thinking this way for a long time. So why they change now? In terms of, are they measuring something, or maybe the interests have shifted? I don't know. I have those questions, those interesting questions.
If you think climate is the only problem and it's apocalyptic, or if you think climate's not a problem at all, my memo will make no sense to you.
So if you are an extremist in both extremes, then you're crazy and you're not going to understand his brilliance. Oh my God.
You'll be like, oh no, it should all be climate. Or you'll be like, why are you even still talking about this climate thing? Why do you invest billions of your money into these companies? The middle position that climate is super important, but has to be considered in terms of overall human welfare. I didn't pick that position because it's everybody agrees with it. It's, I think, intellectually the right answer.
He is entering Meghan Markle territory, Meghan Markle word salad territory. It's impressive. I couldn't imagine that. Bill Gates and Meghan Markle, perhaps the main characters of my channel, would be, have this Ouroboros, a circle just close in. But there's one thing that I have mentioned about Bill Gates in the past. One good thing, I guess, he has invested in this molten sand nuclear reactors. Nuclear energy that are like 1/3 the power of conventional, and also much smaller nuclear reactors. You can see that human for scale here. This is something actually good. And he invested in this, invested in this company called TerraPower, who is developing these molten sand nuclear reactors that are smaller, that are safer, that are easier to produce, that are modular. I think for everything that Bill Gates is doing, and we have criticized him in so many angles, so many ways in this channel, but I have mentioned this at least once, that this is something good. And this is something align with, when I say if you are worried about climate, you have to put your money where your food, your money, you have to put your, well, I forgot how to say that, your money or your food where your mouth is. You have to put your money where your mouth is. I don't remember. But at least I always told you, if somebody tells you about climate emergency, climate change, oh, they're worried about climate, and they don't say anything about nuclear power, they're hypocrites. And I'm going to say that again today. If people are worried about climate and they want clean energy and stuff, it is not windmills. Windmills are not the answer. Maybe solar power, now we're talking. But solar power alone is not going to do the trick. We need more efficient nuclear reactors. We already can build really safe nuclear reactors, but they take a long time to make, like 6 to 8 years. And we know that China, for example, is leading on that. They are building, I don't know how many dozens of new nuclear reactors, the country that is building most of them. But we need to find a way of building this almost portable nuclear reactors. And that way, we could have a lot of clean energy for all that clean air, and very much safer energy than what we get today. But unless we have that discussion, nothing's going to change. And apparently, thanks to the money that AI has to offer for all these people, we will get something good in return. Perhaps, I don't know. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Body Language Guy. Much love and bliss.